In the vastness of the Pacific, there is a place unlike any other, the hotspot for biodiversity and home of unique adaptations. These islands may just inspire you to think about the world in a different respect. The creatures that call these islands home, many found nowhere else in the world, some big, some small, all tie in neatly to create the harmonious environment you see here. This is land of one-off species, a place of wonders. Welcome to the Galapagos Islands. This animal, that weighs up to 408 kilograms, is normally the first thing people who visit here remember most fondly, the charismatic Galapagos seal. It is common on each beachfront to find an alpha male that has ownership over the surrounding females. During mating season, if he has no challengers, he will mate with each female. The males that aren't strong enough to maintain an area of their own create subgroups of fellow bachelor males. The large males must consume a hefty 4.5 kilograms of fish every day to maintain their weight. They tend to hunt for food several miles offshore. Although it has been recorded that some have gone farther, for the deeper into the ocean they go, the chances of turning from predator to prey dramatically increase. There are about 50,000 Galapagos sea lions on the island. Nonetheless, these mammals are still national park protected. One of the largest threats to this species is the phenomenon El Niño. This is where a band of warm oceanic water develops in the central and east-central equatorial Pacific. This increase in the temperature heavily impacted the seals in 1982 to 1983. Since most of the species live in cool water, if the temperature exceeds 5 degrees more than the norm, they will not survive. Sadly, these harsher conditions made reproducing a threat to the female's survival. Others abandoned their offspring. In some cases, mostly regarding the flora, the death was due to a lack of nutrients produced by the thermocline.
Islands born with fire and the submersion of the Nazca tectonic plate and overpowering South American plate together creating a crumple effect. This high tension and release of enormous power is what I and the locals walk on. This results in a variety of islands being created at different points in time. For example, San Cristobal, the nearest island to the mainland, is approximately 4 million years old and composed of eroded, rounded cones. This is heavily contrasted with Isla Fernandina, which dates less than 7,000 years old and is considered one of the most active volcanoes in the world.
¿Desde dónde? Ok, entonces, bueno, justamente aquí tenemos a la, este es un mapa de los puntos calientes alrededor del mundo, ¿no? Entonces, justamente en este punto rojo se encuentra el punto caliente de Galápagos, donde justamente debido a las placas tectónicas, las islas Galápagos se encuentran en la placa de Nazca y la placa de Nazca se va moviendo de 1 a 3 centímetros por año debajo de las placas sudamericanas, ¿ok? Por el movimiento de subducción, ¿no es cierto? Entonces se va moviendo debajo de este y va creando también, es por eso que aquí hay bastante sismicidad, hay bastantes temblores, justamente por este movimiento de las placas, ¿no? Entonces justamente por esto, donde se encuentra el punto caliente no se mueve, solamente está debajo de la placa. Entonces justamente aquí, ¿no? Que la placa se va moviendo, va creando las islas antiguas y donde está localizado el punto caliente va creando las islas nuevas como es Fernandina y la isla Isabela, donde está localizado.
The Andean chain is the reason the landscapes of Ecuador are so breathtaking. The mainland and Galapagos Islands host up to 47 volcanoes. Chimborazo volcano is discreetly the highest point in Ecuador. The colossal beast is also the closest point on Earth to the moon. These islands are potentially home to 27 active volcanoes, one being Sierra Negra. This geothermal location sources terrestrial sulfur flows and is also host to the second largest caldera in the world, with Lake Toba supervolcano in Indonesia leading in front. The myriad of volcanoes that positively litter the islands don't only cause mass destruction, they can also create some of the most beautiful natural formations and habitations for sea life on the island. I am here at Los Toneles to observe the labyrinth of lava tubes that was once molten lava flow, and this is now cooled very slowly over a long period of time that has created the narrow arches we see thousands of years later. It is renowned that the Galapagos have some of the most diverse species in the world. These volcanic-lined aquariums are home of sea lions, seals, blue-footed boobies, manta, marble, golden cownose, and diamond stingrays. Yellow-tailed fish, white-tip, black-tip and Galapagos sharks, hammerheads that congregate in great numbers. The reason for such a grand quantity of endemic species is thanks to the islands being located at the intersection of 3 major oceanic currents and 4 minor currents. The principal currents are the Humboldt Current, a cold and nutrient-saturated flow, the Panama Current, a warm water which enables coral growth, and lastly, the Cromwell Current, a cold upwelling current that affects the central islands the most. It is quite fascinating to be situated in between 2 active volcanoes and be witness to where tropical meets polar. For marine life, the combination of currents, nutrients, and shallow oceanic water are a giant magnet to ensure that ecosystem is kept at equilibrium. The Chemlanoidis nigra, more commonly known as the giant tortoise, are the largest living species of tortoise. Modern Galapagos tortoises can weigh up to 417 kilograms and can reach 4 feet in length. Today, the only two locations these ancient reptiles are found are the Galapagos Islands and Aldabra in the Indian Ocean, 700 kilometers east of Tanzania. The large brown protective shell has been adapted over time, depending on which islands the tortoises live on. Wet climates with luscious pastures from volcano to volcano, such as Isabella Island, will be home to larger tortoises with domed shells. Dry habitats such as San Cristobal host smaller tortoises that have an adaptation to feed on berries, leaves and fruit on low-hanging branches. This adaptation is the saddleback shell. It allows them to reach further. The Galapagos Islands got their name originally from the Old Spanish word Galapago, which means saddle and refers to the shell of one of the most predominant species of tortoise. The upper side of the shell is called the carapace, while the lower part of the shell is known as the plastron. This integral part of their skeleton is their largest survival tool. When threatened, they can pull their head and legs inside the shell when the shoulders are brought forwards, obstructing any predator access to the head. A hissing noise is also heard, which in fact is the air expelling quickly from the lungs when the limbs are retracted. Unlike any other animal, the Galapagos tortoise can survive up to 1 year without food and water. They are clearly slow-moving creatures, reaching up to speeds of 0.18 miles per hour. This slow pace keeps their heart rate extremely low, similar to the green turtle, which has a heart rate of 1 beat per minute, meaning they can travel long distances using minimal energy.
One of the most dramatic and moving sights to visit on Isabella Island is Muro de las Lágrimas, the Wall of Tears. As the name suggests, this construction was built at the expense of pain and brutality. In the mid-1900s, the prisons on the mainland of Ecuador were crammed, which made controlling the establishments very demanding. The islands were the perfect solution to create some space to breathe. Authorities of the prisons shipped the undesirables over to the islands such as Isabella. This was cheaper compared to building new prisons on mainland Ecuador. Floriana and San Cristobal had also been used for the same function. They were even cheaper since they were open-aired prisons. A solid infrastructure was not compulsory thanks to the strong ocean currents and lack of wind, which made attempting to escape rather foolish and a waste of time. Here lies an 8-meter high wall that stretches 100 meters amid a barren outcrop with a hopeful coastal liner. In 1946, some 300 prisoners monitored by 30 guards arrived on the island. With little to accomplish on this relatively new island, the prisoner guards created arduous tasks to occupy the prisoners' time. And so was born the idea of building a wall with heavy, sharp volcanic rocks. Of course, this wall served no purpose and was said to be the place where los valientes lloran y los débiles mueren. The strong cry and the weak die. A place to spend a few thoughts for the poor beings who had no way out of this governmental torture scheme. There is one creature in particular that can be found on volcanic rock, the Galapagos marine iguana, also known as the Abrincus cristatus. Like any other species on the island, the iguanas are not native to the Galapagos. They came floating on ocean and air currents to this very unique living environment. These marine iguanas are the only species to feed underwater in the world. They also have many adaptations. The white wig on their heads may just appear to be a characteristic to deflect the sun rays from their heads. But in actual fact, the white wig is a result of the nasal gland adaptation. When the iguanas feed in the ocean, their bodies collect excess sodium and they need to expel it. The nasal gland allows them to remove excess sodium and excess algae. They blend in with the volcanic rocks to avoid predators, as well as absorb the maximum heat possible from the blazing sun. Their blunt, short noses are very efficient when feeding off algae in the water. There are not many other predators on the islands, other than humans. But when they hatch from eggs, they are very vulnerable to birds of prey such as the Galapagos hawk, wild pigs, and also snakes.
Quisiera saber cosas que sabes como las iguanas, por favor, señor.
Ok, mi nombre es Alfredo Boloña, guía naturalista del Parque Nacional ya por muchos años, viviendo aquí en Isabela ya por más de 30 años. Y pues un gusto para explicarte de las iguanas. Las iguanas marinas realmente, esa definición no existe. Todas las iguanas en el mundo son iguanas de tierra. Lo que pasó que estas iguanas, se les dice iguanas marinas porque no porque naden o porque buceen. Todos los animales lo hacen. Muchos animales hasta bucean y no son marinos porque nunca desarrollaron pues agallas. Entonces siguen siendo iguanas de tierra. El asunto es que tuvieron que adaptarse porque cuando vinieron hace 4 o 5 millones de años obviamente no había mucha vegetación y lo único que encontraron para comer apenas arribaron fueron las algas. Entonces fueron a comer algas, fue saludable, fue bueno y sobrevivieron. Pero tuvieron que aprender a nadar y a bucear para poder alimentarse y sobrevivir, que es la palabra clave en Galápagos, en todas las islas, sobrevivir. Entonces aprendieron a nadar y a bucear, por eso cuando se alimentan pues están sumergidas por unos de 15 a 35 minutos, más o menos 45 minutos, sin respirar, porque pueden detener la pulsación de su corazón a 4 latidos por minuto. En ese tipo de hibernación, las campeones mundiales son las tortugas, que pueden estar sin respirar bajo el agua más de 20 minutos, más de 20 horas, perdón, más de 20 horas. Así que pues se adaptaron primero. Ahora ya con el tiempo, por eso cuando salen de comer, están sumergidas en el agua por mucho tiempo, tienen que pues hacerle una digestión, pero como tienen sangre fría y metabolismo lento, es muy lenta esa digestión. Y durante ese proceso empiezan a escupir. Cuando las iguanas escupen no es una acción ni agresiva ni defensiva, simplemente tienen que expulsar la sal del cuerpo y por la nariz. Es un sneeze más que un spit, ¿no? Animal que vive como 40 años, lo mismo que todas las iguanas, como 60 años, perdón, lo mismo que todas las iguanas de tierra que existen, es su promedio de vida. Pero fíjense qué pasa, que ahora en Galápagos también ya tenemos iguanas de tierra. ¿Y qué pasa con las iguanas de tierra? Si usted va a la isla Plazas, tenemos algunas híbridas, porque las de tierra y las de mar se aparean. Y sale un híbrido, sale un infértil. La pregunta es, ¿ese infértil qué va a comer? ¿Algas o flores? La respuesta es obvia, flores, porque ese es su instinto, va a comer flores y de eso va a sobrevivir, porque la otra lo que hizo fue adaptarse, ya no puede regresar pero se adaptó, o sea con la iguana marina lo que más tenemos es adaptación. Al final de toda esta historia ya tenemos evolución porque ya hay 7 diferentes subespecies de iguanas marinas. Entonces eso es lo interesante de Galápagos, que puedes ver el mismo animal en diferentes islas, pero cada isla tiene un hábitat diferente, lo que hace que su comportamiento cambie.
The cluster of islands was first discovered by Spanish fleets, which promptly followed Charles Darwin's discovery of the island in 1835, and he stayed there for 3 weeks.
He concluded that the animals were hideous and that the turtles and iguanas were a great source of food. That point onwards, the reptiles were almost hunted to extinction. Today, the majority of the Galapagos is a national park and is protected. One of the most fragile ecosystems and few places where the human footprint is kept to a minimum. These reptiles can normally be seen in groups, relaxing on rocks and lying on each other, like this. Ultimately ever so sociable. However, they are rather using each other and their heat for their own benefit. They absorb as many rays as possible before the sun sets, and then they regress to their burrows where they continue to huddle for one another's warmth. Sometimes lava lizards can be found sitting on them, using the iguanas for their own volcanic rocks, or possibly for a better view of the world.
Some younger adolescent iguanas are more vulnerable to predators than the 1.5 meter adults. This young reptile evaluates the sandy channel for predators. He wants to reach his fellow peers. But is he quick enough to not be seen by one of the many predators? He takes his chance. The infant makes it to safety. He may sunbathe another day.
An animal that can be found on every coast and can't be missed is the Sully Lightfoot crab. This abundant marine animal is blessed with spectacular coloration. The pungent magenta, orange, and occasionally violet tinted shells cannot be overlooked against the obsidian igneous rocks. They're as beautiful far away as they are up close. Named after English seafarers, these delicate-looking crustaceans are extremely agile in order to avoid predators as well as from one another when competing for territory and partners. They have a tough exoskeleton shell that gets tougher with age. They're almost impenetrable by hungry predators. These crabs, surprisingly, have a rather romantic relationship with the marine iguanas. They have formed a symbiosis whereby the Sully Lightfoot crabs eat skin parasites and dead skin off the marine iguanas, so the skin is cleaned and the crabs have a full stomach. In addition, they don't have feet. The useful adaptation of having pointed legs allows them to hold on tight to the holes in the rocks, which helps them maintain grip while strong waves wash over them. All these crafty characteristics developed over thousands, millions of years allow the crabs to be unbeatable. They simply disappear in a puff of blue smoke.
When a green turtle hatches from an egg, its first breath is taken. That first scent the hatchling identifies is of the mother, which forges a lifelong bond. This unique moment, that barely lasts a couple of breaths, is the reason why turtles lay their eggs on the very beach they were born. These innate behaviors are incomprehensibly sublime, as green sea turtles remember this moment forever. They roam for 35 to 40 years around the Galapagos before regressing to lay their eggs using the three principal currents. Distinguishing one beach from another, they are capable of finding the shores where her mother survived when laying her eggs. For her, it is the most secure beach in the world.
The archipelago Galapagos, everything observed, a miraculous result of natural selection, invites you to listen to its melodies. From the comical Galapagos sea lions to the green sea turtles. All of these endemic beings 2 meters away from your fingertips. I'm Giles Pittman, and this is a Taste of the Galápagos. Here we are in Isla Floriana, the fourth island of my trip and the last island. Actually, no, that's not true. It won't be the last island of my trip. I'm going to Belcher Island tomorrow, where the airport is.
So yeah, we're here and there's loads of species of iguana that you can't see anywhere else. There's giant tortoises, so we're going snorkeling later. It's going to be a very nice diverse experience, which is just what I wanted.
Sí, puede sentarse aquí.
Place, oh my god. Oh my god, the hot spot. Okay, on this one.
Hola! This is a taste of the Galapagos.
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 This is a tasty of the Galapagos.
This is a taste of the Galapagos.